Hey everybody. I just thought I would show y'all a little bit about what I'm doing here. In your assignment, I had asked you to draw your left hand and include, I think, textures, simulated textures. And I gave you the example of the things that were on that image that I sent that was like a wood grain. And then over here, on your right hand, you're supposed to do patterns, and you can look around your home and see what kind of patterns you have on your bedspread or on some of your clothes or on some of your dinnerware, whatever. So I decided I would start doing it. First of all, here is my sketchbook. I thought I would show you another way to decorate. This is with tape. This is electrical tape. This is hardware store stuff. And chances are, if you've got anybody that's kind of a handyman in your house or in your family, you probably have access to a lot of these electrical tapes. There is also something called washi tape. These you can actually buy at Walmart, but I'm not asking y'all to go to Walmart. That's not it. I just happen to have those. But the red, the black, the yellow, the white, and the green are all electrical tapes. And all I did with this is I laid a few diagonally across, and then I started laying some diagonally this other way. But every now and then I would pick up the electrical tape and run it underneath. So this one went over, but let's see, and it went over that. Let's see. But it went underneath. You can kind of see it. It went underneath there. So it was just kind of fun. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it ended up being really cool. I liked it. So this was electrical tape. Again, it was a dry medium, but it was pretty quick and easy to do once I got started. All right, so now I'm going to show y'all. This is the way I did it. Now, you do not... I did it, and I really liked the idea of having them be on two sides of the page, meaning as opposed to one here and one here. Why can't I do one here? If you do a black marker on this side, obviously you've got markers showing through, so you can't put something else here. And if you put something else on this side with a marker, it's going to show through to this side. So I decided to go ahead and use this inside cover and to do it this way. And I started with, tracing my hand. And I had mentioned to y'all about how cool the checkerboard was. A lot of people love checkerboards. And I'm one of them. I love grids and I love checkerboards. So I went ahead and started to put that in, but I didn't want to do checkerboard on this side because this is a totally separate project. Remember, this one is different from this one. So I saw where these lines kind of were going into this space. So I just kind of started making these lines go in. It just seemed like the right thing to do. But the more I did, it needed to be what we call integrated more. It needed to look like they were connected better. So I realized there were a bunch of squares on this side, but there were no squares at all on this side. So I put a couple of squares in over here, and that looked kind of cool. And that's definitely a pattern, so that was neat. Then I decided I had this heavy black right here, and it looked like it was, really just not integrated at all with this side. So I put a few little things in like this. And again, y'all, this is years and years and years of experience. But the only way I got this experience was to actually just jump in and do. And that's what I'm wanting you to do, is to just jump in, but to do your best. Give it a shot. Do more than you really think you have to do. because once you get in and you start to realize what works and what doesn't, oh my gosh, it becomes so easy. Because it was a checkerboard, and checkerboards have a really bad habit of getting out of sync, meaning a lot of times you'll mess them up and end up with two colors together, you know, two blacks together or two whites together. I came in automatically and I went, okay, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. And I just scribbled, all right, so that I knew which ones were going to stay white and which ones were going to get filled in. So these will all be filled in. Something else that I want to do, I'm going to kind of show y'all just a few things. It's not going to be a long video. It's only maybe at the most 15 minutes. And that's that I want to integrate some of these really undulations or these organic-y shapes like these. These are, remember, organic shapes that don't have, they're not, if you remember, they're not geometric shapes and they're not natural shapes. So these are kind of organic, and I want to keep those, but I also need to put some more squares. So I thought I would put a giant square right here. Wait, no, you know what I think I'm gonna do? This reminds me kind of the checkerboard. So I'm going to go straight edge there, a straight edge there, a straight edge there, a straight edge there. I'll just go all the way over. And then I'm going to kind of do a band across, kind of so like this is almost like that. I don't know, we'll see. And that's going to be filled in with one pattern. This, I think I'll fill this in with black. I'm just going to kind of fill it in just while I'm thinking about it. And let's see. So there needs to be, there's some heavy black here. There's going to be some black here. There's going to need to be a little bit of black over here too. So I think what I'll do is I'll come in from here and do that. Now, folks, y'all should be doing this probably with pencil first. I'm doing it with a marker simply because, as you know, if I were to do it with pencil, you wouldn't be able to see it very well. So hopefully I won't make a big major mistake. Make sure that you're still getting the whole picture. Yep. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get these a little bit darker to see visually what I'm working with. I haven't filled them in super dark yet because I just kind of want to see how much black is going to be all over this thing. Because remember, you have to have a nice balance of blacks and whites. You have to have a nice balance of shapes that go from one to the other. Okay. Now, this is something else I wanted to show you. I did kind of make a mistake in that I like this. It originally was kind of coming from a point right there. I drug this down and then went up, but it didn't look right, so I moved it up a little bit because of the way it was placed around that finger. So I moved it up, and then I went, I don't really like that either. So what I think I want to do is I want to pull some of this. I've pulled the black squares into this side. You know, I've let them kind of melt into this side. So now I want kind of to integrate a little bit of the white, maybe coming in to the other side. I'm not sure. So I have a whiteout. This is just regular whiteout gel. I have this too. I'm not really sure which one's going to work, if either one of them are going to work. We're going to try. Yeah, it'll work. Let's see. I want to keep that black outline of the finger. But this is kind of hard to work with. But practice makes perfect, right? Going slow and steady. Also help if I had my glasses on, which I don't usually wear for the regular, but I do need them for tiny things. Okay. Don't really like that much. What about you? Well, we're about to find out. I'm going to bring that up here. Now this thing's working really well. Too much almost. I can come back in there and clean that up. Okay, I see what the problem is. The problem is that it technically, I think, needs to go a little bit into this area right here. That's Yep, I'm going to fix that a little bit later, but yeah, that looks a little bit better. Put the lid back on this baby. Don't know where the lid went. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's go back to this. I have now I've got two pens. I've got this big super fat Sharpie, and I've kind of laid it all out in a good way, I think. So now I'm going to come in on this side. If I'm wrong, y'all will have to correct me, but I think the right hand is supposed to have patterns. So first, let me go ahead and fill this in so that I see exactly how much black I'm going to have on this hand. I noticed that some of y'all had used some acrylic paint, and that's fine. The only thing I worry about when you use paint is that, again, we're dealing with, this is not real drawing paper or real art paper, so it's kind of thin, and you may end up not liking what you see. It'll kind of get bubbly and that sort of thing, and it will never really lay flat if you get too much liquid media on there. But if you don't use too much water, you should be okay. If you wanted to put in, like here, if you wanted to fix it and put in some, okay, well, that's already dry. Let me see if I can fix that now. Look at there. Yeah, I think I'm going to come in here and do a little something there too, but yeah, we'll work right here a little bit later. So, I have a great idea. I'm actually going to move this checkerboard pattern. This is a pattern, it's not a texture. I'm going to move the pattern of the checkerboard into this space. And that will really get that checkerboard over here into the other side. So here we go. We're going to kind of change this up a little bit. I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a curve. Now, doing the same thing that I did over here, let's come in and go this one, this one, this one, this one. That means this one. That one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, gonna leave that right where it is. All right, so that's kind of bringing that over into there. This is our simulated texture. Now I'm going to show you how to do a wood grain. There's so many ways to do wood grain. And if you Google on wood grains, how to draw a wood grain in black and white or whatever, you'll find lots and lots and lots of good links. I actually have several. If you want me to send you a few, I will gladly do that. Just send me an email at deltastateart@gmail.com. Send me a personal email and I'll send you those links that I had found on how to draw wood grains. I'm going to draw one the way I've always drawn it. Let's see. But I obviously have to do 5 or more patterns over here. So I can't just... All right, we've got motion or movement kind of coming in this way, because this is kind of angled this way. So I think that would really be cool to follow that curve. Whoops. Actually, let's see. This is where I really wish I had a pencil. Okay. There, that's, oh, I see, it's hitting a little bump right in there. That's part of the problem. Okay. All right, right now, what y'all see is all the line widths are like with this. So now it's time for me to come in here. This would be considered a thick line. This would be considered then kind of a middleweight line. And so this, I'm gonna come in here with a simulated texture. I'm gonna put a simulated wood grain in here, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let's see, I can do it as if it's going, the wood is growing this way, or I can do it if the wood is growing this way. Ideally, I need to kind of, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm trying to get this movement through here. So actually, I think I'm going to situate myself a little sideways here. I'm going to have to move my book a little so, because I can't draw it in the camera angle if I'm... So here we go. We're going to draw a little bit of a curved wood. Now, I started with just a little thing that's just an irregular line, but it stays predominantly straight. If you really look at wood grains, and you think about how a tree grows, you've learned probably in science about how trees, if they have good years, their growth rings are wider. If they have really bad years, their growth rings are narrower. So there's a lot of variables that happen in a wood grain. And if they get hit, say, by a lawnmower or something, they might end up with a knot in it. And so if you kind of draw yourself a little knot like that, then your wood grain will kind of stay around it. It'll grow around that knot. And it'll also change. You see how it'll go around that? You kind of follow this, and if you get a little bit closer and then fat out again, that's okay, because irregular growing seasons is what wood grains are all about. I don't want this to just become a whole series of lines. I want it to look a little bit more like a wood grain. So at this point, I'm going to try and give it a little bit of a little jiggle. Just a little bump. And I can actually kind of put a little something there. We don't really know what it is that hit it. It might have been a little bug that dug a hole in there. We don't know. And I'm going to put another little knot down here. So guess what? It gets to that knot and it jumps around it. It could end up getting real boring through here, so we've done a little jiggle joggle to the right, and this one's to the right. So let's try a little jiggle joggle a little bit to the left. See how I moved it to the left? Get a little bit of variety in our lines because we don't want them to be boring. This is looking pretty good. We've got a knot, a little sort of a knot, a little sort of a knot. I'm going to kind of change that. Add a little darkness to this knot. Don't really need to up there. Okay. So I'm going to put a knot up here. So now, look there. That really changes, but it still kind of is coming along in here. Okay, there is a wood grain. Let's say we have another texture that we're going to put in here. Well, I'm going to go ahead, since I'm down here, let's go ahead and see how it looks with the black that I've got planned for it. Down here. Yeah, I like that. So now I'm going to leave, you know, a little bit of a thick line there. It's not as thick as this one, so that's good. So we have to do another simulated texture or drawn texture. I'm going to do something that's, as far as a simulated texture, in architecture, we fill something with dots. And I'm going to use it with some thin dots, maybe some thick dots. But we're going to start with the thin because once you do these thick ones, you can't make them any smaller. So we're going to start. I'm just going to do what we call a stippling. We really haven't talked much about stippling. But stippling is taking just a point and filling it in. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, stippling, if it's done well and if it's done right, it takes a lot of time. However, guess what? You don't have to think about it. It's easy to do, but it's time consuming. And you think, oh, I don't want to have to do this. Well, in architecture, I was learning how to do renderings in architecture school a long time ago. And this was one of the symbols that we used for concrete. So we were always having to do this little thing. It's also a good symbol for carpet when you're doing an interior picture. Now, the closer I put them together, the denser or darker it's going to appear. So let me show you a little secret. Okay, now we don't want them to be lines. We want them to definitely be dots, but this pen is running out of ink, sadly. You can see like down to the bottom of the ink in this pen. But I'm going to try to put some in here, and I'm going to spread them out down in this wider area. I'm going to do fewer in this wider area. And I'm going to do them denser up here in this area. And it's going to be really cool because the more you work on stippling, you can create values. You can create lights and darks without filling it in solidly. And again, this is called stippling. And it's a way for you to create values of lights and darks. Similar to scumbling. If y'all remember scumbling. Scumbling is my favorite way to create lights and darks. That and cross-hatching. A lot of people are still having some trouble trying to decide what's hatching and what is cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is an easy thing if you think about it. It just crosses another line. But it is used for creating texture and value. This isn't really considered cross-hatching, even though they go this way and this way, because it's used to create a pattern. And that's a difference. If cross-hatching is used to create values, then it's cross-hatching. If it's used to create a pattern, then it's just nothing but a pattern or a line. So you see, I can create how it's darker and it kind of fades into a lighter down in here. And I like that. Okay. There's, I think, brick texture. There's also feather. But we're simulating what something might feel like. Something that we know if we went up to concrete and we touched it, we would feel all these little tips of the rough edge of the concrete. And so we're showing you the tips of that. We would feel all the veins of the wood, or we would see the veins of the wood. So these are simulated, meaning they are drawn or recreated. Textures that we would actually be able to see or find. Patterns, on the other hand, are things that we might see on our fabrics. Now, I don't know if y'all can see, but I happen to have a pair of plaid pants on today. These are my indoor, in-the-house pants, which I'm sure most of y'all have been wearing as we hang out inside and we want to be comfortable. I don't like that right there. These two, whoops. These two are the same length. So I'm going to bring this one down a little bit, and I'm going to change its shape so that it kind of fills in that space a little bit better. Ooh. I think I'm going to bring this one . Threes are always better. Things that are in odd arrangements. So having three little pokey things is better. So yeah, we'll leave that one for a little while, see how that makes me feel. So pattern here, so you can just create your own, or you can look at patterns in your house. If I wanted to create triangles that have those and a circle, triangles, circle, triangle, circle, circle, part of a triangle,